Masieti, good to get you on. Yaketsu Yosatini, thank you for coming here today. Listen to our talk, the Citizenship Committee from Tezcatlica Council. It's an honor to be here today on Shitka Kwan's land, back in our coastal brothers and sisters' land. We're here today to share a little of our experiences in Teslan, how to integrate Kusteeyi into a modern Tlingit government. But before we begin, we always begin everything we do with a prayer. So we're going to ask our elders, Representative Gangi, to lead us in prayer. You all can stand, please.
Atuna haskasahan dewas to Donigo. Takaskotini hastu in the week nach hinkanach day nach. It ain't has good luck to go to the sea has kunatini. I in a key cut the key on cow. Kunchishi da kayedi kunchish.
Sheesh o'clock. Yeah, all the work that we do, and it's usually the work that any Teslan Tlingit Council committee or any meeting that we do, we always begin with prayer. So we ask the Kion Cow to help us. We ask the elders that have gone before us to help us, to give us, to share with us their wisdom so that we may make the best decisions for our people, because that's who we're doing it for the future generations that are here and our baby representative there. We recruit them young in Tesla. So we're going to begin with introductions. Like I said, my name is Dwengastano Kwa. I'm the Yanyedi representative for the Citizenship Committee, but I'm also, the committee has selected me to be the chair, and again, I'd like to thank them for that honor. And I'm just going to hand the mic on and then let each of the members introduce themselves. Chish.
Se uyu hatu sa singi kena. No shaka you hatu sa.
Hello everybody. My name is Yedisa. I'm from the Ishkitan clan. My father was from the Daklaweri. I'm very proud of that. My grandfather comes from Yanyedi. That's who I am. Good to see you all today.
Genichish you hatu sak. Sesat you hatu sak. Minedi sha I hat. Asu you do sak. Genichish.
Ansani hatu sak. My daughter
My name is Bill Smarch. My Tlingit name is Kadunja, and I'm the Daklawedi rep on the Citizenship Committee.
Also, that Gangi, she's our elders rep. Pauline, she represents Kokoton, and Charlene, she is our registrar, our superstar registrar, who helped us with all the bookings to help get us here originally, and also with the I wouldn't say gong show, but when all our perfect plans fell apart once we got the Skagway because of the weather. So we were the emergency crew that helped figure everything out how to get us here today. But we're just going to begin. I'm going to hand the mic back to Klauk Gangi, and she's just going to give a little explanation of the history of Tezcatlica. The Tezcatlica people, before there was a Tezcatlica council, to talk about our clans and where we come from. So
In Teslan, we have five clans. It's 2 clans under the Wolf, the Yanedi, and the Daklaweri. And there's 3 clans under the Crow, Kokoton, Ishkitan, and Deshitan. That's the Wolf and the Eel. And on the crow side is the raven, frog, and beaver. We have, in Tasland, we have 5 clans, and we have our own crest and our own songs and speeches. And we have clan leaders. There's 5 clan leaders. There's 1 clan leader for every clan. But right now there's two clans that don't have a clan leader because their clan leaders passed on, and they still have to pick another clan leader. And we have our own crests that we use, even though there's 2 clans under the wolf. We're not allowed to use each other's crest because we have our own crest. And that's the same with the crow clan. And we have our own speeches, and the clan leaders is the ones that does the speeches, like for funerals or headstone potlatches. And our speeches is a higher language than the language that we use. So some of it we still have to try to understand it. But most of our elders that really know the culture are gone. There's some that still know our language and our culture. We're trying to revive our language again. And there's 23 fluent speakers in Tasland. And 12 of those speakers come from the Yanidi clan. That's our clan. But we're trying to revive it again. And that's all I have to say for now.
Sheesh. Any others of the committee members, if you just want to grab the mic, just tug on the cord and I'll hand it over to you. This is where Tasman-Clicka Council comes into effect, is that in 1993 we signed our treaty with the Canadian government, and one thing that was different between the signing of our umbrella final agreement in Tasman compared with the other First Nations within the Yukon was that we had each of the clan leaders from the 5 clans also sign this treaty. It wasn't just the chief, it wasn't just our deputy, they recognize where the real authority comes from is from the clans. And so all the clans, they all accepted the offer that Canada made to us. And then the clan leaders, they also put their signature to the treaty as well. And that's when Tasman-Clicka Council as a government, as a modern government, was born. And I just want to quickly talk about clan governance. The basis of Tasman-Clicka Council is on the clans. I'm also the Executive Council representative for Yanyedi clan. My clan put me forward to sit on the Executive Council. Each clan puts forward a representative to sit on the Executive Council and on the General Council, which is our highest legislative body. The clans are the ones who make that decision. The clans are the ones who are in charge of our government. It's not the other way around. And the clans are the ones who are in charge of our business side, which is our corporations. Again, the clans are the ones who are in charge of that and give the corporations direction. So each of the clans had decided to come together and to form a council of the 5 clans. And they agreed, one of the principles that they agreed upon was through our constitution, our Tasman-Clicka Council constitution. And also want to recognize my clan elder, Harry Morris, that Bev's father, who was one of the ones who helped us remember our clans. Because residential school for a long time, it really disrupted that passing of that memory and of those teachings. And Uncle Harry and a lot of the elders that have gone before us helped bring that back. So each of the 5 clans came together and they put together a constitution. They agreed upon a constitution. And some of the principles of that constitution is that the clans, each of the 5 clans are equal. Doesn't matter, we didn't want to look at status or how big they were. They decided that we're coming together as equals. And so each of the clan, no matter how big or how small, they put forward 5 representatives to sit on general council. So that the biggest clan only has 5 reps and the smallest clan only has 5 representatives to show that equality, that each one has an equal voice. And one of the other things that our people decided through our constitution was that our government would operate by consensus. It's not majority rules. It's not 3 clans against 2 or 4 clans against 1. All 5 clans have to agree upon something for us to move forward. And I think it's in some ways it's a more difficult approach, but in the long run, it's the far better way to do a government. It's not us against them. It's we as a people, as a Teslin Tlingit people, who come together to agree upon something. Sometimes it takes us a long time to come to an agreement upon something. I'm not gonna joke. But when we finally reach consensus, it's that we've come together and we all agree upon this, and it's not how did they say? It's not us giving up something. It's us collaborating and coming together as a people, as one people. And so I think that's one of the cornerstones of our government, is that equality, and it's also consensus. But part of, and why the Citizenship Committee is here today, is to share with you, is one of the things that, I don't know if somebody can open that window back there, please. Yeah, let's just leave the door open. Oh yeah, I can feel the breeze now. Thank you. Just throw something through it. The emergency. So we came together. Part of what we needed to decide as a people, we had that ability for us to decide who is a Teslin Tlingit citizen. Before, we had governments trying to tell us, well, through the Indian affairs, that the Indian Act says that only these people are Indians. Well, we don't care what the government says or doesn't say. We decide who we are and who is a Teslin Tlingit citizen. And so part of the work that we had to do was to develop our Citizenship Code. And that was done in collaboration with our elders, with our citizens, with our youth, going to the community and asking them, well, what do you think? And especially with our elders were very, very clear when it comes to it. No matter what we develop, it has to be based upon Kusteeyi, which is our Tlingit way, our foundation. And our elders are always remind us that needs to be our foundation to no matter what we do. It can't just be we feel like we want to do this. The lens we have to look through has to be that lens of Kusteeyi. And it can be difficult sometimes because the Western culture, the Western way, a lot of times it conflicts with Kusteeyi. But our elders always bring us back to that focus. And so that's one of the things that we had to do was when we were developing the Citizenship Code. One of the things we had to do as well was that we also had to make sure it didn't conflict with the treaty that we had just signed with Canada. There's a Chapter 3 within that treaty that defines beneficiary status, and that was agreed upon with the Yukon, Canada, and with Teslin Tlingit Council with the 5 clans. We agreed as the three parties to the treaty that this is what what needs to be the bare minimum of who is a beneficiary and therefore who is a citizen. So we had to use that to work along with as well to make sure whatever we developed didn't contradict Kusteeyi and didn't contradict Chapter 3. So that was a very difficult balancing act sometimes because Canada had a very different mindset when it comes to who's a beneficiary and who isn't. But we finally came to that consensus between Canada, Yukon, and TTC, Tasmania Council, and we agreed upon Chapter 3. So once we developed the Citizenship Code, part of that was do they qualify to be a beneficiary under the treaty? That's one of the things. Are they a member? And one of the most important, are they a member of one of the 5 clans? Do they have Tasmanian heritage? Do they have blood? Tasmanian blood is basically what it boils down to. And those criteria, if they met all 3, it was boom, easy. They're a citizen. Where we had some difficulties with is that inland Tlingit are the same as coastal Tlingit. We're matrilineal. That we have everything, we inherit everything through our mothers. My mother is Yanyedi, I'm Yanyedi, her mother was Yanyedi, and her mother was Yanyedi. Same thing with all the clans. Some of our beneficiaries, their fathers were Tlingit, but their mothers belonged to a different nation. They were either white or they were another First Nation. So in a lot of ways, for the longest time, there was about 100 of them who were basically clanless. They didn't belong to any of the 5. They weren't recognized by any of the 5 clans. But it was trying to change a mindset as well with how we were thinking things, because in a lot of ways we were thinking in this Western mindset. And the elders had reminded us that they have Tlingit blood. They're not just somebody that we adopt who has no lineage to Tasmania Council. Their fathers are Tasmanian citizens. Their fathers have Tlingit blood. That's where they get their Tlingit blood from. It's from their father. Now they can inherit their father's clan. That never changes. That can never change. But how do we bring them within the 5 clans within Tasmania Council? That was the difficult discussion that we had to have as a people. That because it wasn't fair that because my mother was Yanyedi, I was able to wear the crest, and a lot of times we take things for granted. Instead, it's just I'm Yanyedi, but we had 100 of our citizens who couldn't say that. We had 100 of our citizens who were Tasmanian citizens, but couldn't say, I'm Daklawedi, I'm Ishkitan, I'm Kokotan, I'm Deshitan. So how much of a struggle that must have been for them, and for them not to have that clan connection. So one thing that the elders had talked to us about was that, well, who's their father's father? Who's their father's people? And that's where we found the connection. And so, let's say I had a child with a non-Tlingit. Who's my father? Well, my father's white, so then you'd have to go back to who's my grandfather? My grandfather is Deshitan. So it'd be Deshitan who would be the ones who would recognize my offspring. And we don't call it adoption either. It's being recognized because it's a lineage that's through blood. We have a clan potlatch a few years ago. I'll just use Yanyedi for example. We had 2 individuals. We had one who was a descendant who had that Yanyedi connection. His grandfather was Yanyedi, so he was recognized. We had another individual who had married a Kokotan woman. Her grandfather was Yanyedi. So Yanyedi adopted him. We gave the one who had the Tlingit lineage, the Tlingit blood, we gave him a Yanyedi name. The one that we adopted, we made up a name. He didn't get a clan name. That's the difference between adopting and recognizing. So that's the, and it took us a long time to be able to get there, to make sure that what we were doing was in line with Kusteeyi, but also recognize the rights of the individuals who had Tlingit blood, who had that Tlingit lineage, that Tlingit connection. So I'm just going to hand the mic to other individuals too that talk about that, because that was one of our biggest struggles, was how do we balance this? How do we balance Kusteeyi? How do we recognize these individuals? So.
Yeah, that was really hard for us with that chapter 3, because we're natural lineal. We had to work really hard and work with the elders to see what we can do, and the elders guided us. Like every time we had a meeting and we needed questions answered, we talked to the elders council, and they helped us along with it. And when we worked on the children that didn't have a clan, we worked on it for a long time. And after we did all our research, we put all the names together, and then we, like he said, which clan should recognize them. So we made up a list of those kids' names, and in our general council, that was in last November, we had a general council and the citizenship committee. We each got an envelope for, let's say, the kids that has to be recognized by the Yanyedi clan. We got an envelope, and the same all the way down. And we handed it to the clans for them to deal with it. And after all that is settled, like when they accept them, we're going to put on a big potluck and welcome them back into the families. So that's part of what we're doing.
And a part of it is, I just want to talk about my cousin here. She belongs to the Ishkiton clan, and I belong to Kokoton clan. And we have four relatives that had to be recognized last fall at a potluck. And we couldn't get into Ishkiton because our grandfather is Kokoton. And his wife was Ducklawady, so Ducklawady can't take her because she's not following the lineage. And her mom was non-native. Their mother is non-native. So the way it worked is that Kokoton had to adopt her. Our little junior there is giving you the background. Anyway, because their mom was non-native and our grandfather was Kokoton, that's why our clan had to recognize them as Kokoton. They're very proud of that. They are half Tlingit and half white, but they are very proud of belonging to the Kokoton and being able to put on our vest and wear it. And they are very respectful of that. And I gotta say, I'm really proud of them too, because every one of them have, because they're Crow, every one of our relatives have a wolf or an eagle husband. Isn't that great? Yeah. And they're all women, so all their boys have to be recognized next. Good enough, Chish.
She can keep talking.
Yeah.
The work I do as a citizenship registrar is pretty interesting. I really like it because some of the citizens do not live in Teslin, and they live like out of territory. And because we don't know like who they are, but we do know where they like the family. So part of my job is to do the research, to trace their lineage, trace their grandfather, and the work that has to be done is pretty sensitive, and all the information that we collect has to be correct. So that's what I do is I collect a lot of information on families. I get to meet a lot of long lost relatives, and it's really interesting the work that the committee does. And I take the information back to them, and if they don't agree, then they get the eye. So they better agree or not. But it's really interesting. I really love the job.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about Chapter 3 and the elders. That was a really difficult part for us. Trying to jive Chapter 3 with all the legal, I won't say it, the legal stuff. And who we are as Tlingit. And we had lots of meetings with our lawyers around Chapter 3 to see what we can do around that. Apparently there wasn't too much we could do, but being the creative bunch we are, and having such smart elders, we were able to come to where we are today, and that was really good, hard work. And the other part of that too is we worked a lot with genealogy, and I want to acknowledge my sister Annie back there who works with the genealogy, and another couple who started our genealogy chart, which Annie takes care of, and she does work on the database around that. So we had to refer to the genealogy charts a lot. Right, Charlene? Just want to make sure I'm right. And we do have a lot of fun, but we work really hard as well. But I just wanted to bring that up around the genealogy chart because that chart goes back a long, long way. Yeah, and sorry, Aggie here, our elder, did a lot of work with that as well. So lots of hardworking people with us around that. So this is where we're at, and I'm looking forward to the potlatch that we have to acknowledge all the people that are coming back. So anyway, that's all I want to say right now. Gunchish.
Cheers, everybody. I just want to say it's been a lot of interesting learning curves for us younger generation here. I represent the youth, so for Teslin County Council, I'm part of the Yeti clan. We've spent a lot of work in doing this stuff, and in our custom back home, we're not allowed to tell another clan what to do. So that's why we make when we do this work here, that's why we say it's so sensitive, is because we're not allowed to step on each other's toes. We're never allowed to cross that boundary, and so we just make the suggestion, and it's up to the clans to accept it or not. And if they do accept it, then yay, right? It's good, it's happy. But there's lots of work and stuff that does go with it. But we never give up, and it's really, you know, like Dwayne was saying, is that it's such a blessing that, you know, because my mother is Yeti, I'm naturally just born right into it, you know, and you know, and the people that they were talking about adopting were like my cousin, you know, and so when they finally got the adoption, you know, or sorry, when they were recognized, sorry, I always get that mixed up. But still, you know, when they were recognized and they were honored for who they were, you know, that was such a great celebration, and you could see it, you know, like the glow and the love, because I was there at the pot match, you know, and so seeing that kind of stuff and honoring it is just amazing, you know, and especially because it's like an identity, right? You know, we're born with it, and it's hard when you're not like born in, like, you know, so when it does happen, it's a great celebration. Our community just flourishes, right? And but Kusteeyi, and I'm thankful to be here. This is really interesting. This is my first clan conference I've ever been to, so it's really cool. It's my first time to Sitka, so Kusteeyi, thank you.
I sit on the Citizenship for Digital. I love your country. Like the only I'm trying to go see the whales today. Yes, this is my daughter. She's the youngest of our Digital clan. I'm just really happy to be here, and I love sitting on this board. It's a great experience. Thank you.
One thing I really like about sitting on the Citizenship Committee is just learning how some people aren't just born into a clan, and it's nice to see when they're actually recognized and actually have a voice within our government, because everything is completely clan-based. If you're not in a clan, you don't really have a voice or input within our whole government. So one thing I like is finding out how they fit in and where they fit in to their own clans, and just learning about genealogy, where people came from, is pretty neat.
Dwayne, can I make a comment?
If you had anything you want to
Oh, I
say,
better get the first.
you said it good. Okay.
I too am from the community of Tasman, and the work that these amazing people do. I just want to share a bit of a story of how powerful this really is. It seems pretty trivial a little bit. Yeah, we kind of know all this stuff, but the reality of the work that you do, the recognition is very powerful. I just had my nephews, one from Winnipeg, one from Edmonton. They're both born outside the Yukon. And what is success? And we went through that in the last couple of slides. What are we reading as success? How colonized are we? Do we, as colonized individuals, Aboriginal people of Aboriginal ancestry, look at success? And how does that relate to us? Well, my experience with my nephews is I just sat down with my oldest nephew, who's also my godson, has a degree in marketing, is a provincial manager of a very wealthy company, and he says it's still not enough. This isn't my success. Who am I? So that recognition, that understanding about clan law and governance, he's now thinking of switching into law, and it's with emotional tears in his eyes that we sat up late one evening. He said, I want to help, because I understand what success is in this world, but I understand that there's a whole other part of me, that blood quantum in me, that needs to find success. I think we got to be really careful with that. But when we recognize in citizens, we clearly understand, we clearly begin to understand our roles. Like as an uncle, I know what my role is. As an educator, I know what my role is. And this young man, it's so inspiring to see that the support of TTC allowing this kid to go, I want to help. How can I help our people? What can I do in law to help? And of course, we need Aboriginal lawyers within our community, within our greater country of Canada. The other success story, my brother married a non-First Nations, lives in British Columbia. His oldest son is in his first year of kinesiology. He's switching to his B.Ed next year. And he's being financially supported by TTC government because he is a citizen. He needs that support, and his desire is to move north to teach in our education system here in the Yukon. That kid's been with me for 4 falls. He's come up every fall to spend a week with good old uncle. And he likes what I do in education. He says, that's what I want to do. Right? So the citizenship and the work we do is really important for our youth. And the majority of our citizens don't live on our soil. Most of our citizens live outside of Teslin. Most of our citizens live outside of the Yukon. There's some very powerful players, and this is a way that those people then, through that recognition, identity, and what our roles are, can contribute to the growth and the strength of us as a nation. So when you talk about decolonization and healing, these are the success stories of the work, that the groundwork that this group is doing. That is our future success, because those boys are going to have balance when they come home and they understand their roles and are recognized. That decolonization, that healing, that's how it happens. So goodness sheesh for the work that you do.
Sheesh, you. That was good to hear compliments. we as
And he didn't buy me off again.
Because we as Native people, a lot of times we're quicker to criticize than to compliment. So it's a thank you, Sheesh, for that. I just wanted to quickly say. Now I forgot. Thanks, George. But yeah, that I just love that. So that's how our committees work. That's why I'm so glad that everyone spoke, because they said a lot of things that I missed. So I'm like, yeah, I should have said that. I should have said that. Because I was going to recognize Annie too for the work that you did with genealogy. That you want to come say something as well, and I also wanted to recognize Bev. She's one of our former committee members who helped us a lot with that too. So I want to say thank you, Sheesh. And then our Heritage Department back, our Director of Heritage, Tip Evans, who's also helped with the genealogy chart. We have Michael also, who's working with Heritage. And we don't have anyone left back in Teslin. We're all in. We just let the chief have a little. Here, Annie.
I want to thank the people of Sitka, of Kusteeyi, for allowing us on your land. Very beautiful land. Very wet though. Somebody said it's good for your skin. I've been checking the mirror every morning. But the work I do with the genealogy, with the Teslin Tlingit genealogy, I can say is very healing. I am one of the people that was taken by the residential school at 5 years old, where I lost the language. I am one of part of the baby boomers, also part of the lost generation. Working very hard to find out what our background was there. When you start connecting with the ancestors, and you look at the genealogy chart, which goes back about 200 years, and you look and you see, this is who I am, this is who I'm related to, this is where I come from. This was my ancestors, who were a very proud people, not the people that I was taught about in the residential school, that we were no good. We are good. I found that out. The other part of our project we're working on, my sister-in-law and I, Aggie, we're working on the Tlingit name list. And this Tlingit name list goes back 200 years. We dividing them up into the clans. What are the meanings of it? And I'm telling you, I thank my sister-in-law for being there and for helping me to understand that I didn't have to be ashamed of anything in my background. It was so beautiful. You can see it in the names. All the history. What I learned in the last few months was something that was, because some of the names seem so short, and they were shortened. There's a story behind each name, and this is the next step for our project, is finding out what those names are. But healing, this is the benefit for me. Somehow the Kion Kawa blessed me. This I did not know was my healing path. I stayed far away from it because that's what my mother said she wanted me to learn in the Western world. But I'm trying very hard and I'm learning, wanting to learn my Tlingit language. I hope to come here and be talking. Instead of talking in English, I will be talking in my mother tongue. The tongue that I was born with. Tlingit, Kusteeyi.
She's no dummy.
She's curled, that's why. Yeah, the work that we do with the Tlingit names is really interesting. That's our third time working on it, and we have to work with the genealogy chart, and we go back so many generations, and through that genealogy chart, I found out that my grandmother on my dad's side, she was a sister to Oscar Hammond. Yes. So lots of interesting work, and I'm really enjoying it. And sometimes she's on a computer so much. This one, she gives people's names to. Let's say if it's school, she put them in wolf. But it's a learning experience, and we have lots of work with it, and we really enjoy it. And we go to the elders and we get some of the names, but there's not too many elders left now that know about all these things. I think Auntie Martha is the oldest in our clan. She's 94. Yeah, she's 94 years old. Yeah, and that's really interesting work. The next after this, we have to find out the meaning of the names and record all that. And where they were born. Yes, super frog. We call her super frog because she's on so many committees.
She hops all over.
Yeah, but this is a good group. We like working with them. We have a lot of fun, a lot of good fun. And it's all part of our healing. And you can see the difference in after we started doing this work. So I'm really grateful for that. Kusteeyi, thank you, she said.
I
think the microphone's turned on.
Anne said that she wants to make sure this tip. Gotta make sure this project finishes.
Got a life of its own.
Yeah. Just before we open up to any other questions, I just wanted to say that there was a citizenship code back in the days before we had our treaty when we were Indian Act band. Oops, turn this up. When we were an Indian Act band, but no one wanted to touch it after our Constitution was ratified. I think it was 1991. It took about 21 years before we passed our citizenship code because it was such a hot potato. Each council would pass it on to the next council because it was some tough questions that was difficult to ask. But you know, they always say things happen when they're meant to happen, when they're ready. It took that long for us to make sure we were ready and that we did it right. And I think that's why it took that many years. And like our committee had mentioned, again, the clans are the ones who make the decisions. Even after all our research, all the research Charlene did, she would present to the committee. We met with Elders Council twice, and we're working with genealogy to develop our recognition lists, our recommendations. We didn't make the decision. And then even after that, even after meeting with the Elders Council twice, that's when last November, when we officially presented our recommendations to the clans. Now it's in their hands for them to make the decision what they're going to do with these recommendations. So again, that's how our government operates, is that the clans are the decision makers. So I don't know if we have any questions.
Are there other Tlingit communities in the Yukon and British Columbia? I'm thinking of Atlin.
Mm-hmm.
Are you associated with them?
Yeah, we're all part of the. I'm going to hand it to Auntie. I keep on saying it wrong. Yeah, the Duck-Kakwan. We're the inland Tlingit. Teslin, Atlin, Carcross.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we're increasingly working more and more together. Like our inland elders have told us, we're one people. That there's no borders between Teslin, Atlin, and Carcross, and there's no American-Canadian border. That we also need to start working more with our American family. That we're Tlingit. And so the more that we're developing stuff within Teslin, the more Carcross develops. And here, hey you. She wants to speak now. You can tell she's a member of our committee because we love to laugh. She loves to laugh. But yeah, the sharing. So anything that's why we're here as well, to share what our experiences within Teslin, to share with our people here, and also to hear what's going on in different parts of our nation, so that we could bring that home as well. All of that we learn. Oh, sorry.
I just want to say that I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. You have gone back to ground zero again and built a strong base. To me, the American way feels lazy because we let the federal government make up IRA tribes and we let them define blood quantum. Pretty soon we're going to run out of Indians. With quarter blood quantum. We need to borrow a page from your book, and we need to start moving in these directions because it's not fair to anybody, especially our young tribal members as they come up and clan members. And I love the way you're honoring the clans, respecting the clans. It's the best thing I've heard in I don't know how long. Thank you.
Yeah, blood quantum was something that was discussed, and right away our people said no. That if they have a little millimeter or whatever you say, imperial, or an ounce or whatever of Tlingit blood, a drop, that's enough. That we have no 1/16th or whatever. You're either Tlingit or you're not. So, sheesh. John? Oh, Pauline, you want some?
Can I just
Baby had enough of the talk, she
say
said.
something? Our elders fought long and hard for our elders that I can remember as being a little girl like her. You know, they fought hard for us to keep us strong. You know, they fought, and they're still fighting hard for us. You know, and I was that little baby once before, and I remember going to meetings when I was a little girl too, and listening and seeing all of our elders that are gone now. You know, and I remember when these girls were like my age. You know, and them doing that. You know, like I remember that. Like, I'm sorry, but I remember that. You know, and they fought hard for so thankful, and I've always said that, I'm so thankful and grateful for our past chiefs and our clan leaders and our elders that have gone before us, you know. And our clan women is what keeps our nation strong. Our clan women, you know, that's Yakudi, that's how it is. It's always how it's been, you know, and I know that goes right across the board for all of us, you know, all of our nations. We get big, you know, it's our women that are, I believe, that are our backbone, you know, and I mean, like, look, we have two men. They're boys. But, you know, like, they listen to us, right? But it's true, and I just want to say that I'm really honored and thankful for my elders that have passed on, who have taught us, and, you know, for teaching us younger generation, you know, the knowledge that we have. I'm really grateful to our elders for that, and my grandmother, and all of our women, our elder women that teach us and give us the patience and the strength to move forward, you know, because we're going to have to pick up after them, and we're going to have to teach our younger generation, our babies out there too, you know. You know, we teach them when we're young, and that's how we were always taught too. We were taught young at a very young age to always, you know, have lots of respect, and they always tell you, think before you talk, you know. So I really want to thank my elders, my past people that have gone.
And me too, I want to say, to all our young people for all the hard work, the willingness to learn, the honor they give us, and the way they listen to us. And when we say something, they don't jump down our throat because they have a lawyer's degree. But they're willing to listen and understand and try to understand. And I just want to say how proud I am of them, Martina and Berdina and Billy. I had opportunity to work this summer with Billy, our young man down there. And that young fella, he's so strong in what he believes in that he talks a lot about the things that are going to happen when we're no longer there. I hope that's for a long, long time we're here. He told me this summer, he said, Pauline, you're going to be coming into work with a cane. I just got to say how proud I am of them. They're so willing to learn, and even some of our little older middle-aged people, like our young Bev back there.
That's me.
You're middle. George and, well, Bev grew up with the culture, but George was half and half, I guess. But he took it upon himself to learn lots about our culture. And he stands proud, and he stands with his head, because he's Coqueton, I said he stands with his head up among crows. Yeah,
even though his feathers get a little wet.
Yeah, as you can see, we're all growing duck feet. But anyway, I just want to say I'm really proud of the young people from back home that are really willing to listen and to learn and to carry on our culture and our language.
Just like to say a couple things. My wife and I, Linda, participated in Kusteeyi from the beginning, and you're always so welcoming of us, and we sincerely appreciate that. It feels like home, which is nice. I recognize them. And could you talk about, I know they have youth participating in the council, could you talk about that?
Well, we have Martina, who's the youth representative on the committee, but Billy is just the new youth on our executive council. my little sister was the executive council member, but she just recently moved to New York for love. I'm like, holy, move any farther away for love? You couldn't find a boyfriend any closer? But she and Billy was on the youth council before that, and so Mary, together with the youth council, helped come up with at our General Assembly this last summer the amendments to our Constitution to officially recognize the youth council as an order of government within our First Nation. I don't know, Billy, if you wanted to expand, say anything about the youth.
So we just finished making up like the Constitution. Just at this past AGA, it was passed. I think it's pretty good to have one of the 5 pillars of government being the youth, and it will be great to have the youth's involvement in like the political level of government and just having their opinions voiced at everything, right? Like, so yeah.
Yes. Like it's like I said earlier, it's really sensitive work doing this stuff, and because you talk about people and you talk about individuals, and and like I said, it's you're not supposed to step on other clients' toes, and but it's kind of hard because it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm just a youth member, so my older brother in a way, he's my cousin, but I call him my older brother. He represents San Diego, so I kind of almost feel like I'm just kind of I don't really have a decision to make. I can't really, but I can voice my opinion, and they can hear my opinion. But really, because I'm just a youth rep, but I feel like I don't have much input, but I can always voice my opinion, and so I'm heard through that way. Thank you.
And one of the things that we changed before, the youth rep on the executive council used just to be, didn't really have a voice. They had a voice, but they didn't make up part of our quorum. But that's one of the things, the changes that Mary and the youth council had brought forward was to change that so that the youth rep makes up he's an actual member, full member of he, she, whoever the executive youth is, they are a full member of our executive council. And just quickly, so we have the people on top. I don't have a flow chart. We have people on top. I'm trying to think in my head. We are citizens. We have general council. We have the elders council, youth council, and justice council is another body that exists within Tesalclika Council, a recent body that deals with our Justice Act and implementing justice within our government. So as a government, we need that justice component as well, but it's not based on Western justice, it's based upon our Tlingit, Kusteeyi, and it was restorative justice. And then the Citizenship Committee is, we're a constitutional body, so we don't answer to any of the other bodies except for General Council and our clans. Bev, do you want?
I just wanted to say that I brought some pamphlets of our justice system, and it's based on our traditional justice, our clan system, much like the citizenship. It's governed exactly the same way. Every clan is clan based. So I have some pamphlets. If you're more than welcome to them. If you have any questions, I'll be available after the conference.
Every community is clan-based. Your clan is represented at every level of government, basically, other than administration.
And it's a lot of work, especially for the smaller clans. Like Billy said, all our committees are clan-based. Our clan representative. And that's why our super frog here, Ishkitan, is one of the smallest clans. And so Anne has to sit on her clan puts her forward for so many boards and committees. You gotta remember which hat you're wearing. Do you want that?
Yeah, I can just say it. Sure. I'm related to some of you because I'm a Ducklawady. So your father you're a clan brother, and we're related through Deshiton, through Angoon. So, so are you related to Luka Hadi?
My grandmother was Canadian.
But my question is two parts. What's your relationship to the Canadian government and then to your province that you're in?
Well, with our treaty, that we're on the same level as the provinces now, within the Yukon, within Canada. That we're a legislative authority. When we write a law, if there's a Canadian law or Yukon territory law that exists, once we write our law becomes paramount. And so we're a legislative authority within our territory. And then there's certain laws that we write that follow our citizen no matter where they go, regardless of if they live on our territory or not. And so we are an actual order of government within Canada. And if the justice, if you want to talk more about that, if somebody comes and breaks a law, one of our laws on our land, it doesn't matter if they're a citizen or not. They're answerable to us as a government if they break one of our laws. And they have to go, eventually, once our peace court is fully operational, they would be brought before our courts to answer for breaking one of our laws. It doesn't matter if they're a citizen or not.
Dwayne, as you know, this is Linda Wynn. This is my true cousin. We're both Daklawani, and you know, been working really hard to make that connection of our family genealogy with Tesla or Whitehorse. And my question was, I heard about the excitement on the genealogy and sharing names and that there is no boundaries in your constitution. Is there room for representative from the coastal side to be part of your council? Or is that a volunteer? How does that work in your government? Just say that someone might be interested to share names and be part of the genealogy process.
Sheesh. To be an actual member of any of our councils, you have to be a citizen, which means you have to have lineage to either Teslin, Allen, or Carcross. But if there's a connection, we're all connected as Tlingit people. And so we are more than thrilled to work with whether it's Klakwan or Juno or Sitka or any of the other Kwans. We want to work with anyone, any of our people who wants to work with us. And we're willing to share what we've learned and what we've experienced with any of our people as well. And we do the same in the Yukon. It's not just Tlingits we share with. We share with our fellow Gunana. We share with the Taltans and the Kaska. Anyone who needs our help, we're willing to help, and that's our way of helping each other.
I wanted to know what your protocol is for dealing with major crimes. I'm from a very small village where the crime rate is running rampant without the influence of law enforcement. Your typical government law enforcement. Young women are being killed, and it's very hard to talk about. It's very painful because it affects so many of us. This is happening in my village, and I live here in Sitka, but the pain is unbearable. So I was wondering if you have a tribal protocol that you follow. I mean, I'm looking at this, and I'm already getting some ideas, but I have this fire inside that I can't put out, and I really would like to reach out more to anybody and everybody who may have ideas or solutions on how to approach this, because our tribe does have organized village, but there's it's very complicated because what's happening in our village affects so many families, and nobody wants to be targeted or threatened.